The alert came in as a low priority. Unusual SSH login attempts detected. That wasn't rare. Internet noise. Bots scanning ports. But then another message followed. Successful login from unknown IP. That changed everything. Slack lit up. Who is logged into Bastion? Seeing active sessions from external IPs. This doesn't match our allow list. I pulled up CloudWatch. SSH connections had spiked, not thousands, just a few. But some of them were successful, and they were still active. We were running on AWS, multi-tier architecture, public-facing services in EKS. Private resources isolated in private subnets. Access to internal systems was through a Bastion host. A single EC2 instance in a public subnet, hardened, or at least it was supposed to be. SSH access was restricted by security group rules. Only specific office IPs were allowed. Authentication was key-based, no passwords. Behind the Bastion, we had access to RDS, internal services, and administrative endpoints. Traffic averaged around 2K requests per second. CI/CD was GitHub Actions and Terraform. Monitoring stack included CloudWatch, Prometheus, and centralized logging. From a design perspective, the Bastion was the gatekeeper. If that was compromised, everything behind it was exposed. No user-facing issues. Applications were running normally, no downtime, no performance degradation. But internally, something was off. SSH logs showed new sessions from IPs we did not recognize. Session durations were short. Commands executed were minimal, but they were real. Someone had access. We checked running processes on the Bastion. Nothing obvious, no crypto miners, no high CPU usage. It looked clean, which made it worse, because it meant whoever accessed it was careful. First thought was key compromise. Maybe someone's SSH key had leaked. We checked authorized keys. No recent changes, no unknown keys. We rotated keys anyway, killed active sessions. But within minutes, new connections appeared. Same pattern, different IPs. Now we checked security groups. That's where things shifted. Inbound rule for SSH, 0.0.0.00. Open to the world. That should never be there. We checked Terraform. The intended configuration restricted access to a few IPs, but the live state was different. Someone had modified it manually. We checked CloudTrail. There was a change. 2 days earlier, security group updated. Source changed to open. No ticket, no review. Now the question was how they were authenticating. If SSH keys were still required, how were they getting in? We looked deeper into logs. Failed attempts were high, but successful ones existed. Then we noticed something. The Bastion had password authentication enabled. It shouldn't have been. We checked the SSH config. Password authentication, yes. That was another red flag. Now it made sense. Open SSH. Password auth enabled. Brute force attempts. Eventually, one succeeded. The issue was layered. First, the security group was open to the internet. That exposed SSH to anyone. Second, password authentication was enabled for a temporary debugging session. It was never turned off. Third, there was a weak password on one of the system users, not root, but a user with sudo access. Once the Bastion was exposed, automated bots began scanning. They attempted logins continuously. Eventually, one succeeded. From there, access to the Bastion was gained. No further exploitation was observed, but the entry point was enough. First step was immediate containment. We locked down the security group, restricted SSH access back to known IPs. Then we disabled password authentication. Enforced key-based login only. We rotated all SSH keys, removed unnecessary users, reviewed pseudo permissions. Next, we audited the Bastion, checked for persistence mechanisms, no evidence of deeper compromise. Then we rotated credentials for internal systems accessible from the Bastion. As a precaution, we also replaced the Bastion entirely, built a new instance from a clean image, applied hardened configurations. We monitored SSH logs, no further unauthorized access. Full containment took about an hour. Most of that was validation. What failed was not a single control. It was multiple small lapses, a security group change without oversight, a temporary configuration left in place, a weak password that should not have existed. Each one alone was manageable. Together, they created an entry point. Detection was also delayed. We saw login attempts, but treated them as noise. We only reacted when success occurred. There was also a process gap. Manual changes bypassed Terraform. State drift went unnoticed. Bastion hosts should be treated as critical infrastructure. They require strict hardening and continuous validation. Password authentication should never be enabled in production. Infrastructure as code must be the source of truth. Manual changes should be detected and reverted. Security groups should be monitored for drift, especially for sensitive ports like SSH. And finally, repeated failed login attempts are not harmless. They are signals. In the end, nothing broke, but something got in, and that was enough.